Phylum Platyhelminthes.
What is Phylum Platyhelminthes? Phylum Platyhelminthes belongs to kingdom Animalia, that known as flatworms without an organ grade of construction. It has bilaterally symmetrical and a columnate with no internal body cavity. Phylum Platyhelminthes also exhibit diacephalization, which sense organs are concentrated at the anterior ends or head. They also have soft bodies, unsegmented and flattened dorsoventrally. Phylum Platyhelminthes are typoblastic animals. Characteristic of Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes body has a soft covering with or without cilia. Platyhelminthes also can be free-living, parasitic or commensal. Other than that, it has ladder-like nervous system. Platyhelminthes also had incomplete digestive system. Besides that, excretion and osmoregulation of Platyhelminthes are controlled by ciliated phlegm cells. Lastly, they do not have digestive tract. Reproduction of Platyhelminthes. Most of them are hermaphrodite, which means both male and female organs are represented in the same body. They typically reproduce both sexually and asexually. For sexually, the majority of sexual reproduction is through cross-fertilization, where both individuals fertilize each other, while for asexual reproduction are usually occur by one of two methods. The first method is through budding and the other one is through transverse fission. What are the classification of Platyhelminthes? There are 4 classifications of Platyhelminthes. The first one is class Cestoda, class Nematoda, class Tubellaria, and lastly class Monogynia. What is class Cestoda? Class Cestoda, known as endoparasitic tapeworms, and they live in digestive tract of muscle tissue of various animals. Their body has 3 regions that consist of scallops, neck and proglottids. The head have suckers that are able to attach to the host intestine. The proglottid also has male and female organs. Other than that, Cestoda body is covered with thick cuticle and lack of digestive system. These are the example of tapeworm that infecting humans. There are Tinea solium, that also known as pork tapeworm, Hymenolipis nana, which is dwarf tapeworm, Diphyllobothrium latum, fish tapeworm, and lastly Tinea saginata, which is beef tapeworm. The second class is Nematoda, that known as flukes, which are blood flukes, liver flukes, and lung flukes. It has simple digestive system that consists of mouth at anterior end and one or more suckers surrounding the mouth for the attachment to host. Lastly, they suck blood and tissue fluids from their host. What are examples of Nematoda? The first one is Aspidogastria, that infect many species of freshwater beavers, fishes, snails, and tortoise. The second one is Fasciola hepatica, that infect liver of various mammals. Last but not least is Digenea, that infect schistosomiasis in humans and animals. The third class is Tubellaria. What is the characteristic of Tubellaria? Tubellaria is the members of planarians, that free-living Dugesia. Tubellaria also found in fresh water. It ingests food using a tube-like pharynx that located in the center of the ventral surface. The osmoregulation in Tubellaria is maintained by photophrydia. These are the components of Tubellaria body. The head is blunt and arrow-shaped. Auricles or sensory lobe function as the sense organs to detect potential foods and enemies. Besides that, the 2 eye spots are photoreceptors, which are sensitive to light. The mouth ventral intestine preceded by muscular pharynx. Tuberolaria body is unsegmented and covered with ciliated cellula. These are the examples of tuberolaria: Dugesia enema, Temonicephala lamotei, and Dugesia bifida. The last classification is class Monogenia, that known as ectoparasitic flatworm. This monogenia can be found on the skin, gills, or fins of fish. A few species of monogenia can infect the internal tissues, such as the blood vessels or digestive tract, and several species can parasitize amphibians and freshwater turtles. The examples of monogenia are Pseudorhabdocynocus morhua, juvenile Discocotyl sagittata, and Discocotyl sagittata. Platyhelminthes as parasite. Cytosomiasis, also known as Nile fever, are the important disease that causing suffering and some death in tropical countries. Furthermore, neurocyticercosis is from larvae of pork tapeworm that penetrate the center of nervous system. These are the picture of cytosomiasis in human skin and tapeworm inside human brain.
The next item on our agenda is one of the most abundant species on Earth. I'm talking about the Phylum Nematoda, or the nematodes. The nematodes are also known as roundworm. There are about 20,000 known and identified species of nematodes, but scientists estimate that there could be as much as 500,000 species yet to be discovered. So how do we differentiate nematodes from other worms? Nematodes have distinct features that help us identify them. In contrast to flatworms from the previous section, these roundworms, as the name suggests, are round, long, and cylindrical in shape. They are also bilaterally symmetrical. This means that if you were to cut it in half, both sides will be of the same shape and size. Nematodes are also sexually dimorphic. The males are smaller and have a bent tail, while the females are larger and have a straight tail. Furthermore, nematodes are completely devoid of any circulatory and respiratory system. They do, however, have a simple digestive system and a simple nervous system. They also have an excretory system and a reproductive system. Nematodes are covered in cuticle. This cuticle will molt periodically. Moreover, the body wall muscles of nematodes are longitudinal. Contractions of these said muscles will help the nematodes to move around. Nematodes can exist as free living creatures or as parasitic creatures. Free living nematodes do not live inside a host. Instead, they live in aquatic conditions in the environment. Parasitic nematodes, on the other hand, live inside other organisms, also known as hosts. These hosts can be animals or plants. Free-living nematodes play a critical ecological role as decomposers. As we have learned in agriculture, compost fertilizers are made from decomposing things such as plants, food waste, or manure. But did you know how these things decompose? Free-living nematodes feed on basically anything, from algae and fungi to animal fecal matter. So anything you give to them, they'll probably decompose. Other than that, nematodes can also prevent diseases in plants by preying on disease-causing organisms. Alternatively, parasitic nematodes are not so helpful. They infest many different types of plants or animals. Plant parasitic nematodes may attack roots, stem, foliage, and flowers of plants. In animals, parasitic nematodes occur in almost all organs of the body, but the most common sites are alimentary, circulatory, and respiratory systems. phylum Nematoda are further classified into three major classes. The first one is class Rhabditidae, which consists of Rhabditis and Tylenchida. The second class is class Inoplea, which is divided into Inoplea and Dorilemida. The third and final class is class Chromadoria.
Next, we are moving on to the last phylum, which is Phylum Annelida. So, what is Annelida? Annelida is a large phylum comprises of segmented worms like earthworms, polychaetal worms, and leeches. And the bottom of the slide is the inner part of Annelida. Next, there are a few characteristics of Annelida that I have pointed out. Firstly, segmentation. Annelida segmentation are separated both internally by septa and externally by annula. Next is its body wall are made up of circular and longitudinal muscles, and it's covered by a pliant cuticle which may have chitinous hair-like structure called chitta, except for leeches. And moving on to the organs, Annelids organs are well developed since Annelids are triploblastic and are bilateral symmetry. They also have a well developed phylum that is an empty space that's filled with liquid called phylmic fluid that is used for locomotion and regulation of fluid transfer through their body wall. Moving on to their respiratory system, for annelids, they generally are skin, but for some cases, such as aquatic oligochaetes, its gas exchange are through its rectum, and some polychaetes through gill filaments. And the last characteristic are excretory system. Annelids excrete waste through their nephridia. There are three classes of Phylum Annelida, that is Oligochaeta, Polychaeta, and Hirudinea. Next is characteristic of each classes. First, we have Oligochaeta. Oligochaeta have 4 pairs of setae for each segment, and it has complete digestive system. But Oligochaeta didn't have respiratory organ, hence they exchange gases through its skin, and their fate are not well developed because they have stable brain and a nerve cord. Next is Polychaeta. It has setae attached to its parapodia. Now, what is parapodia? Basically, parapodia are their locomotory organ, and it is used for swimming and also as respiratory organ. And it is different from Oligochaeta because Oligochaeta have well-developed head and sense organs. Now, for Hirudinea, it didn't have both setae or parapodia. Hirudinea have flattened body, and they have suckers at both anterior and posterior of its body, and it feeds on blood. Lastly, we have rows of Annelida. First on top, we have earthworms. As we all know, earthworms are one of the most important animals in agriculture, but why exactly? It is because earthworms are capable to reworking the soil by bringing nutrients up to the surface layer of soil. Earthworms also can aerate and enrich soil with its nitrogenous waste as they move. Secondly are leeches. Leeches can produce anticoagulant and used to revive delicate veins and also improve flow of blood just by touching the surface of the skin. Hence, it is commonly used in old times for medicinal therapy. And lastly are marine worms. Marine worms can convert organic debris that's available on the ocean floor into carbon dioxide for plankton to undergo photosynthesis.